Greetings and welcome back to Garage Grubbin. And it's a special day. It's Saturday, and it's a quiet Saturday, and so it's kind of the perfect time to make one of my all-time favorites, chili. So I don't know how well you can see this, but we have our chili pan, and can't open it. Now, this is beef chili, not turkey or chicken or something. And we're going to use something called Wagyu beef. Wagyu. And Wagyu beef is reputed to be the most flavorful and tender. And the reason for that is it's the highest in fat. Now, actually, Wagyu comes from Japan. Now, not this. This is Walmart's knockoff variety. But it does come from a very specific breed of cattle called Wagyu cattle. And I saw a show once on the Wagyu in Japan. These cattle, I mean, they're like royalty. They have these really special little farms, and their pens or their stalls, I don't know what you call them, are gorgeous. I mean, they're made out of like treated, stained bamboo, and they get massages, and I think a priest comes once a week and he goes and he blesses all the cows. It's unreal. So it's extraordinarily expensive, Wagyu beef. But of course, because it's so renowned all over the world and is such a big thing, that everybody now is bringing it to market, and all they've done is just gotten the Wagyu cattle and brought them here, or bred them somehow. But these are, believe me, Walmart is not massaging the cattle, trust me. They might if they could, but it's too big, too many. So anyway, Wagyu beef, very high fat content. And but the flavor should be out of this world. Diced tomatoes, these are organic. And a little bit about organic. There's something called, and this information is not something I researched. It comes from my dear wife, and she is kind of I call her an expert nutritionist, not by degree or education, but by her own research. I mean, she is fanatical about diet, and she's always doing research. And so, increasingly, my diet and our diet has become organic whenever possible. So I stumbled upon these only because I couldn't get my favorite Del Monte stewed tomatoes, which I was raised on. They were all out. I don't know where they went. These are so good. So Muir Glen, organic, what's not to like? And they're fire roasted diced tomatoes. Wonderful, wonderful addition for flavor. Gotta have the dark red kidney beans. Now, I know this is just a package of chili seasoning mix, but when you look at what's in it, I could get all the different bottles out and measure them all and do all this stuff and end up with exactly the same thing that comes in this little package for 89 cents. It's the same. So given our theme of simplicity in all things, that's the mix, that's the spice. Though I am gonna throw in some extra garlic. About a tablespoon, because I like lots of garlic. I don't know who doesn't. And of course, we've got our chili pan. So that's the startup, that's the lineup, and we always endeavor in Garage Grubbing to limit our ingredients to 5. And I think we're pretty close. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're gonna add a little oil, but not much, because this has got a lot of fat. So maybe we won't. Anyway, we got close to 5. I think that's close enough. So I'm gonna open these cans and we'll get the pan over on our burner, our hot plate burner, heat it up, get it in the medium high, and then we're gonna throw the beef in first. Beef always goes first for the meat, because you wanna sear it. You want it to be browned and seared. Try to get that nice crunchy texture on it, which I believe enhances the flavor. So we'll see about that. But I'm gonna kill this and get to work, and then I'll be right back in a few minutes and we'll start to brown the beef. And boy, when you start to brown the beef, does that smell, the fragrance? Oh my gosh, it's hard to even get to the chili. Well, I had a miscue, and I could almost hear the grumbling, the outrage across the land amongst the grubbers. Where are the onions? Where are the peppers, Mr. Postman? It's fundamental to chili. You can't have chili without peppers and onions. Well, I'm gonna come clean. I forgot for a minute, but then I remembered, and they're right here. And I use, you know, I could do fresh, and that's all fine, but I'm trying to keep this thing simple here. So I get the blend. It's got green peppers, red peppers, onions, a little celery, and for color, I think some parsley flakes. There's not a lot. This stuff's fantastic. So the beef's gonna go first. We're gonna sear, and then we're gonna put in our peppers and onions. So I didn't forget, I did, but then I remembered. So we're even on that deal. We'll be back shortly when we get this pan hot. So our pan's heating up, and one way to test the pan for that medium-high temperature is, well, don't put your hand in it, but get it near the heat. And when you get to the place where you're near it and you really have to pull away because it's burning you, you're there. We're not quite there yet because I can just kind of hang out. But again, be careful. That's one method. You don't have to do that. The other method, this is probably safer actually, is to take a little piece of your meat, and drop it in. And obviously it's hot, but you want it to kind of jump around. And I think that's looking pretty good. So we're gonna break up the patties. These came in patties, it doesn't matter. I just removed, don't forget to remove the wax paper. And you break them up in bits and pieces and then throw them in, and then we'll start to sizzle them up and brown them. Okay, so we're gonna break up the beef here in bits and pieces and start to toss it into our medium-high pan. And this is 1 pound of beef, just so you know. Some there. This is 1 pound. And just kind of break it up in, you know, bits and chunks. You know, you don't have to be too worried about size here, because we're gonna work. God, I'm getting more on my table than I'm in my pan. Anyway, and the key is, don't mess with it too much. Let it work its way around. Let it brown. Let it sear. Now we're letting this brown a bit, and there's a lot of banging outside. You may hear they're building a house across the street, and this is the day when, you know, it's a chilly day, and they decide they got to put the roof on. So you'll hear some banging. It's not me. So this is starting to get nice. So what I'm going to do is just kind of chunk it up a little bit, and I mean, you don't want hamburgers in your chili. You want ground beef. So I'm just going to let that go. Now what happens, of course, you can see it, is the water starts to come out. And there's a fair amount of water in all these prepared meats. It's a normal thing. You know, we're 98% water ourselves. So how can why wouldn't the hamburger have a lot of water? It does. So I'm going to let that brown a little more, and then I'll start to do a little rotation. And don't worry about over browning it, because it's going to be cooked for a couple hours in the pan anyway as it simmers. So it's not like we're trying to get the beef to be medium well or medium or something. The key is to do what I'm doing now, to cook off a lot of the water, and that's one of the reasons that I let it go for a bit. And I'm gonna spin it here right about now, and see how we're doing. Yeah, that's good. See how it's browned underneath very nicely. Now my pan, with all that cool beef, it's cooled down a little bit. So I'm gonna let it sit here for a minute or so, or 5. We'll be back. It's browning up nicely, and there's still a few more pieces here. And what I'm doing now is I'm going to keep the heat medium-high, and cook off some of this water, probably about 5 minutes. Yeah, about 5 minutes. I'm sure you've taken note that I haven't added any salt or pepper, and you might wonder, it doesn't, everybody always puts salt and pepper in every dish when you're cooking, when they're cooking. Well, yeah, but this is chili, and believe me, there's all the sodium you need in this, and so I don't want to adulterate it with any more salt and pepper. It should be really fine as is when it comes out. And as you can see now, it's starting to pop a little bit. That means the water's really starting to run out. So I'm gonna move it about a bit and help that water evaporate. Well, I had a miscue. I had an electronic glitch. I'm very sorry. So you missed something, but I'll tell you what it was. All I did is I took the, 1 second, just to try to recover from the disaster here in videotaping it, I put in the stewed tomatoes, obviously the chili spice pack, and a bottle of water. Those are the only things you actually missed, and some garlic powder. So the point being, add less water if you want your chili chunkier. Or as I said earlier, cook it longer. It sure smells nice now, and once again, I'm very sorry for the miscue, but it would have been pretty boring anyway just to watch me empty that stuff into a pan and stir it up. So you probably benefited by my electronic glitch. Okay, so hi. In case you thought I forgot something else, and based on the way this video is going today, this episode, it's possible that I forgot a lot more. In fact, maybe what I'm even making here, but I didn't. I didn't forget the red kidney beans. We don't put them in now. We put them in at the very end because they're already cooked. And you don't want to lose the texture. If I put them in now and they simmer for 2 hours, they're going to be mush. So that's why these have been delayed till the very end, and they were not overlooked, though I'm sure you suspect they might have been. We'll put those in later, probably in a couple hours. Well, it's been an hour and it's simmering a little more than I'd like, so I'm going to turn it down a notch. I'm going to give it a stir, but it's starting to look absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And I have a rule with anything, a lot of dishes like chili, black beans. We find that if we cook them one day, then refrigerate them overnight, the next day they're measurably better. I mean, noticeably more flavorful. And so this chili, though we're going to want to devour it here in a few hours, we're going to avoid that, fight the urge, and cover it with a lid and put it in the fridge. And then tomorrow we can dig into it, and it'll be just that much more glorious. Very good. Need some salt. So I stirred in the kidneys right at the end here. It's been about almost 2 hours, and I'd say it's looking really nice, really nice. And so I'm going to turn it off and let it cool a little bit, then put a lid on it and slide it into the fridge. And then tomorrow, I think we're going to have some really exceptional chili. That's my prediction. We'll see how it turns out. Oh, your wife is calling. I wonder what I've gotten myself into this time. I'll be back.